Yeah. Cool. Well, hi everyone. I'm Dan Marsden. I've been working on Moodle for around sort of almost 9 years now as a Moodle developer. I'm the core component lead for the Plagiarism API, the Choice module, and the SCORM module of Moodle. I'm a senior developer at Catalyst IT, working from our home office in Christchurch, and I'm married with five of our great kids, who hopefully you won't hear in the background here, but if we do, we'll be able to move on. So, SCORM. I thought I'd just go quickly into a bit of a quick demonstration of what SCORM is, just in case some of the people joining us haven't used it before or aren't sure what it is. This is a definition here on your screen, which I'll leave you to read. But it's a bit of a complicated definition. This information is all available on slides later on too, so if I skip through something too quickly, then feel free to grab the slides and take a look. This next slide is hopefully a slightly easier method of understanding what SCORM is. Basically, you have a learning management system, which is Moodle, and you have a SCORM package. And the learning management system says to the SCORM package, start the SCORM package, but it also provides some information to the SCORM package, like the user's name. The learner's name's Jan, and it passes that to the SCORM package. In the SCORM package, it presents to the user and does various things, takes them through some learning material, possibly gives them a quiz, and then passes some information back to the learning management system, passes it back to Moodle. So it passes back, this user got 50% complete, they got a test score in the quiz of 8 out of 10, and I'm finished. So that's kind of what SCORM is. It's just this learning package that's external to Moodle that allows you to communicate some information back. Moodle doesn't generate any SCORM content. It only presents the content in SCORM packages to a learner and then saves the information from that learner's interaction into Moodle. If you're wanting to create SCORM content, then you need to use a SCORM authoring tool. There are a wide range of SCORM authoring tools available, and there's a link there in slides to the page, which I'll also post in the chat window here. So if you're wanting to find out more information about tools, then you can use, I'll try and paste it in the, there we go. So if you want to know more about that, go there. There are a range of different SCORM versions, SCORM 1.2, AICC, SCORM 2004, and there's a new version of SCORM called TimCan, or the Experience API. The SCORM 1.2 in Moodle has been working quite well since Moodle 1.9.5. There's a certification process that you can go through with the body that created the SCORM standard called ADL, and you submit your learning management system, Moodle, to them with a range of documentation, and then they test your learning management system to see if it complies with the SCORM standard and give you certification. And the last time we did this was for Moodle 1.9.5. We haven't done the certification since, but we run those tests ourselves on every subsequent version. So we know that it complies, but we haven't gone through the certification process. Certification process costs not a large amount of money, but there's a bit of process involved, and no one in the community has said that they need certification for anything in particular. You could submit Moodle for certification yourself if you wanted to, and I do have an open bug in the tracker to recertify a Moodle 2 version of the SCORM, but we haven't done it at this point, and unless someone jumps up and down and says we need it, it's likely to sit there for a bit until someone has time to look at it. So it does comply, but just doesn't have that certificate since 1.9.5. AICC is another SCORM standard that's mostly developed for the aviation industry, and we've never really gone through any form of certification process for AICC, and there don't seem to be a large number of users using it within Moodle. Not as many as with SCORM anyway. There are still a few that use it, And there are a couple of bugs there with AICC at the moment, so if you're using AICC, then keep an eye on especially MDL 37393, and make sure you're also using a Moodle 2.2 version or higher. And there aren't any AICC bugs in the tracker, functional bugs in the tracker, except for that bug that I showed there. So as far as we're aware, it works quite well and is stable. But let me know if that's not the case. SCORM 2004 was released in 2004 and has never been completed in Moodle. There are 189 test packages for the SCORM 2004 version 3 certification process. I think it's version 3. And Moodle only passes 2 of those 189 test packages. So there's quite a significant amount of work that is not there in Moodle. We've run a couple of Google Summer of Code projects where Google provides funding for a student to work on an open source project for their summer holiday break. And some of those projects have made some nice minor improvements to SCORM 2004 support in Moodle, but it really needs about 3 to 4 months of solid work from an experienced Moodle developer to get it further. This slide was written sort of about a month ago, and since then we've decided to completely stop any further work on SCORM 2004 as a voluntary service. I work as a volunteer in the Moodle community, and most of my SCORM support time is provided as a volunteer, not in my work hours, but in sort of after hours sort of time. And so I've spent quite a bit of time supporting SCORM and working on SCORM, but it's been over 8 years since SCORM 2004 has been released, and no one's come up with the funding to be able to support the proper development of SCORM 2004 Moodle. So we've decided to draw a line in the sand and said we're not going to do this anymore. If you want more information about that, there's some more information on my blog, which I'll post in there as well. And that sort of details why we've stopped and where we're going from there. There are a bunch of other things that we could be looking at and I can spend my time on. So hopefully some of the newer developments will be more useful to people. I should also mention, going back to SCORM 2004, there's a way of using a certified SCORM 2004 player within Moodle, which I'll get to later on. So if you do really, really need SCORM 2004, then you can use a commercial option, which I'll talk about soon. TinCan's the new version of SCORM. There aren't many learning management systems or authoring packages that provide full support for it yet. They are slowly implementing them now. I mean, the major ones have some level of TinCan support. Some initial work has been done to implement TinCan on top of the existing SCORM module, and there's a MDL tracker issue there. If you, I should probably post that full link though. If you want to know more information about the work that's going on there, then here's the link in the chat. The problem with the SCORM module is that the code is quite old and the maintenance of it isn't great. What I would like to do for TinCan is develop a brand new Moodle module that is clean and uses the correct coding guidelines for Moodle and doesn't have lots of extra overhead related to SCORM 2004 and SCORM 1.2 and AICC. I'd prefer to have a nice, clean, standalone module that people could install. The work that's been done in that tracker issue builds on top of the existing SCORM module, and that is potentially the quickest way to do it, but I don't know if that's the right way forward long term. So I'm thinking and hoping to look at that in the next sort of 6 months or so, and look at whether we decide to put it on top of the existing SCORM module or rewrite something from scratch. And I am leaning towards rewriting something from scratch just because it will give us a much cleaner and more reliable and stable module than the existing SCORM code. There are also a range of different areas in the TinCan specification, the Experience API specification, that aren't just related to a SCORM package or playing a SCORM package. There's lots of other specifications around things like logging, and there may be other areas of Moodle that those specifications get added at some point in the future. The Rustici SCORM Cloud, this is the option for people that need a way of supporting SCORM 2004 in their existing Moodle installs now, or they need TinCan right now. Rustici is a commercial organisation, and they were contracted by the SCORM specification body, ADL, to develop the TinCan specification, and are very, very experienced at SCORM and have their own software that runs in a cloud-based solution. And they've written a Moodle plugin that connects to their cloud-based solution. So you upload your SCORM package to their cloud, and then you link Moodle to their cloud, and it provides full SCORM 2004 support and also provides TinCan support. Their SCORM player is a lot more stable and reliable than the one that's in Moodle. Because they have a funding sort of possibilities and a regular sort of licensing agreement, they're able to spend more time developing the plugin, and they've done a great job. So if you're needing something that's the full support and you have a bit of a budget to spend, then it's definitely a good option to investigate. They've occasionally in the past contracted Catalyst to support and add features or fix things within their plugin. So it's we have had a little bit of involvement with them in making sure that the plugin works really, really well in Moodle and in future Moodle versions. They also provide a self-hosted solution. We've got one client of ours who is behind a corporate firewall, so they can't use external cloud-based solutions. So you can purchase a self-hosted packet of Rustici's to run on your own servers. Quite a bit of involved sort of installation procedures, but if you've got the internal knowledge, then it's definitely a possibility. There's a link there to that information too on that slide. Okay, going into managing package files in Moodle. There are a range of different ways to manage your SCORM package files in Moodle. We've got a drag-drop, uploaded package type, external package type, and there's some options there. We'll just go through them one by one. So drag-drop, since Moodle 2.4, you've been able to drag a zip file from your desktop straight onto your course while it's in editing mode. And it pops up a message and says, would you like to add this file as a folder, as a normal file upload, or a SCORM zip? And if you click SCORM zip, it uploads and it just uses the default SCORM settings that you've set in your admin activities, plugins, activities, SCORM administration page, all the defaults that you set there, it will just use and add to your page straight away. And it's very, very easy to add that to your course. The next option is uploaded package, and this is the only method that's enabled in Moodle by default. It uses the Moodle file picker, so you choose to add an activity and you choose SCORM, and then on that page you choose to upload a file, and it just pops up the standard file picker. Unless you find a zip package from a repository or upload a SCORM package from your system somewhere. This is the same method that's used for the drag and drop. So if you drag and drop something onto your course homepage, then it uses the uploaded package type. The next option is the external package type, and this is disabled by default on your installations. You have to enable it. And I think I detail on the other slides how to enable this slightly later on. But this allows you to enter a URL that links to an IMS manifest file. A SCORM package is based on a range of different files, and normally you package it as a zip file and upload the zip file. But what you can do is you can extract your zip file and have it somewhere stored and point Moodle at the IMS manifest file. The IMS manifest file is kind of like the reference file and has all the information about SCORM that Moodle needs to know about. Things like what page to load first, and things that it needs to know about to run the SCORM correctly. So what you can do is extract that and have it somewhere and just link to it. The only problem with this method is that it has to be on the same URL as your Moodle site. So if your Moodle site is moodle.org and you want to extract all of your SCORM files into folders, you need to have those folders on moodle.org. You can't have that on some other website like Amazon.com or some external site, because there's protection inside your web browser that prevents communication from happening across two different websites using JavaScript. And SCORM uses JavaScript to communicate back between the package and to Moodle. So if you have your package on an external site, it can't communicate with Moodle because your browser blocks that communication. It doesn't need to be in the root folder. So if you have your Moodle's probably a bad example in some respects. It just needs to be on that same base URL. So the Moodle.org, if your Moodle site is on Moodle.org somewhere, it might be on Moodle.org/Moodle or /learn/whatever. You just need to use the same URL. The next option is the downloaded package type. This is where you link to a URL that has a zipped SCORM package. This doesn't have to be on the same URL because Moodle downloads the file, stores it locally, extracts it, and then loads it from Moodle itself. So you get around that JavaScript issue. But the URL does need to be accessible to your web server. So if you've got it hidden on an intranet somewhere or an internal server, as long as your web server can access that URL, then it looks okay. If I haven't explained that right, ask some questions in the chat and I can clarify further. There's another setting on the when you're adding a SCORM package to your course, there's another setting called update frequency, and that allows you to set when Moodle should check that external URL to see if there is change to the zip. So what that means is you can change your SCORM package on the external site, and then Moodle will pick that file up and reload it so that the users see the updated version. You do have to make sure that the identifiers in the IMS manifest.xml file don't change, because if they change in the IMS manifest file, then Moodle can't match the identifiers with the old identifiers and you can lose some data. Again, there's more information about this in the forum, so if you're wanting to update packages, make sure you keep an eye on the best way to do those. In fact, Matteo Scariccia has a recent post in the SCORM forum that details a nice way to do that. The other option is direct AICC URL. As I mentioned before, AICC is just another sort of packaging method, and there are a range of content providers of AICC packages like Skillsoft, which you might have heard of, and this allows you just to paste a URL to their external AICC package, and that gets around some of those JavaScript communication barriers because the package doesn't communicate using JavaScript, it uses some other methods. So that's another option. Again, these are all disabled by default. To enable them, you have to go and to the admin plugins activities SCORM settings page, and then on that page you can enable these different package file options. There's also a good blog post about these on my website too if you want to know more. IMS package type is a legacy setting from Moodle 1.9. It's not supported and it will be removed from 2.6. I've got a patch that's ready to go for 2.6 pretty soon. It's a tick box on the admin settings page and it doesn't work, so it's just been removed. More information begins in the forums on that one, but flip me a message if you want to know more. Future options, the file picker on Moodle, and since Moodle 2.3, 2.4, allows for an alias to be used. So that means when you have a file stored in a repository in Moodle, you can in Moodle 2 you can have a range of repositories that store your files. You can allow your file to be updated centrally, and the linked files will be updated. But this doesn't work for SCORM currently. So hopefully Moodle 2.6, I'm hoping, will be able to implement that as well. Also, there's a ability for relative file path linking. So if you have a SCORM repository with the files extracted, then in future you'll be able to link directly to an IMS manifest file within that SCORM repository, and it will work as well. So you'll be able to link to either the zip or just the IMS manifest file. To start with, we'll just be adding the ability just to link to the zip, but in future we'll add the IMS manifest file as well. Again, if any of this isn't making sense, just flick me a message in the chat and I'll try and elaborate further. One of the most important things about SCORM that causes lots of confusion with teachers is this concept of attempts versus entries. SCORM is designed to allow a learner to enter a SCORM, do some stuff, and then exit, and then a couple of hours later come back and start back from where they were before. So they're within a single attempt in that period. They're entering the same attempt twice, or 3 times, or 4 times. So Moodle only registers that as a single attempt. It doesn't register that as 3 attempts. It's just a single attempt. A new attempt is only available if the SCORM package sets this particular parameter called lesson status to completed, passed, or failed. And if it does that, then Moodle presents the option to the learner, create a new attempt. And it's a checkbox that appears on the entry page. And if they leave it unticked, it will re-enter the same initial existing attempt and won't create a new attempt. And that's the way the SCORM spec's designed. But it doesn't make a lot of sense in a lot of situations, and it depends a lot on how your SCORM package is authored. Some SCORM packages are authored to allow this to happen quite nicely, and others don't really support it at all, so you end up causing a range of issues. There are a range of different things we do in Moodle to allow you to control this. There are several settings. Some of these settings are only available in Moodle 2 and higher, so if you're using 1.9, then you need to upgrade. You need to upgrade because security support is being dropped very soon anyway, but these settings are only available in Moodle 2. The first one is display attempt status. This displays a summary of all of the attempts the student has made, and it displays it on the My Moodle page or the SCORM entry page to the student themselves. And it displays the grade that they've received, and it displays a breakdown of all of the different attempts and how that grade is calculated. So it's quite a nice way of trying to figure out why has this particular user got this particular grade, but it's only available to the actual user logged in. The next setting is the number of attempts. This controls how many attempts can be created by the learner. It's important to note that this isn't how many times they can enter an existing attempt, but just how many attempts that can be created. Course completed is another option there. Some SCORM packages don't set that parameter lesson status correctly. So what this setting does is it allows you to force the lesson status to be complete during a user's interaction with the SCORM package. This only works reliably if your SCORM package doesn't set this value. If your SCORM package does set this value, then it can conflict sometimes and you can't guarantee what's going to happen. It depends a lot on how your package is authored. The next setting is lock after final attempt. When the SCORM spec's designed to have a range of different modes when entering a SCORM, and if you don't want users to enter a SCORM package anymore after they've finished it, then you can set this lock after final attempt and it won't allow them access to the SCORM anymore. If you don't set this to yes, then students can go back and review the SCORM package even though they were only allowed 1 attempt. Force new attempt. This controls how the checkbox on the entry page works. So when a user has entered a SCORM and they've gone through the whole process and that lesson status variable has been set to complete, passed, or failed, when the learner comes back, they get that wee checkbox on the page, start new attempt. This setting hides that checkbox and forces the new attempt when they get to enter that attempt. It's important to know that this won't force a new attempt if they come back and visit a SCORM package they haven't completed. They'll still continue within that old attempt. It will only force a new attempt when the status of that existing attempt has been completed, passed, or failed. There are some bugs at the moment with force new attempt. So there's a few. The MDL 37733 that relates to when the course structure displays on the SCORM entry page. There's another setting in the Moodle SCORM settings that allows you to display the structure of the SCORM package on the entry page before they enter the actual SCORM. And if you click on the links within that structure, then force new attempt gets ignored. It's a bit of a problem and should get resolved pretty soon. The other one there is 28649. There's another setting in the Moodle settings called Student Skip Content Structure page, and that means that when you click on the link to the SCORM on the course homepage, it takes you straight into the SCORM. Normally what happens is it pops up this entry page and says, this is the SCORM package, this is the information about it, and there's a enter button on that page to enter into the SCORM. In Moodle 2.0 and 2.1, there was a problem if you were skipping that content structure page, that it wouldn't force new attempts, but that's fixed in 2.2. It's also important to note that this is only for students, the skip content structure page. If you log in as a teacher and click on the SCORM link on the home page, it will still take you to the entry page, because at the moment the only way to view reports for SCORM is from that entry page. So if we skip that entry page for teachers or users that have the ability to grade and see the reports, then they would never ever see a link to the reports. So only skips that for students. In future, I do want to change that so that it skips for teachers as well, but we need to shift the links to the reports so that they're still available. In future, what we also want to do is add the ability to force a new attempt on every re-entry. This is kind of how most teachers expect their package to work. They expect when a user comes in and click on the SCORM, they do some stuff, and then they come back again 2 hours later and enter the SCORM again. We'll give them a new mark rather than overwriting the old mark. It goes against the SCORM specification, but it's how lots of teachers expect it to work, so I do want to add this at some point. If this is something you really want, drop me a line, especially if you're willing to help fund any time to do the work on it. Because at the moment, it'll just sit there until I feel enthusiastic about spending some volunteer time, or someone pays for the time for me to do it. So that's the attempts. SCORM grading is also another complex area because you have multiple attempts and you also have different ways that grading works within SCORM packages. Some SCORM packages return a score, others will only return a lesson status like completed, passed or failed. So there are a range of settings here that control how how to manage those. I think, yeah, so there's 4 here. I'll just check to see. I don't think I've got specific information on the slides after. No, I don't. The highest grade displays the highest grade that has been saved in this particular attempt. So you might have multiple scores being returned from your SCORM package at different points. So at one point it might return a 10, another point it might return a 20, another time it might return a 30. The highest grade will find that 30 grade and use that. The average grade will take the 10, 20 and 30, add them together and create an average. Some grade adds those 3 scores together. So, and learning objects is for when your package doesn't return a grade at all, it doesn't return a score, it only returns completed and passed. So you might have 4 different objects inside your SCORM package that return completed or passed. And it basically allows you to grade that, so you end up with a mark of 4 if you have 4 learning objects and all 4 are completed, or a mark of 3. So depending on how your SCORM package is authored, it depends on which grading method you should use within that single attempt. So that's important. This is just for a single attempt. It's not for multiple attempts. Then we also have the attempts grading, because of course a user can create multiple attempts with different grades. And again, you can choose some pretty standard options here, from the highest grade of all the attempts, average, or the first attempt that was created, or the last completed attempt. So it's important to say that a failed lesson status allows a new attempt to be generated, but the attempts grading setting will only show completed and passed values in its calculations. So if the user enters for 4 times, and the 3rd time they got a pass, but the 4th time they got a fail, the last completed attempt will show the 3rd time they got through and the score they got at that point. Hopefully that makes sense. There's a lot more information in the SCORM FAQs too, so if you're needing a bit more information there, make sure you go there as well. And I'll just post that in the chat window as well. So have a look at that frequently asked questions page. It's got a lot of information on grading, on attempts. Can be quite useful. There are also a bunch of different reports in Moodle. The first one here that I'm talking about is the SCORM basic report. This is the one that's been there pretty much since Moodle 1.9. it allows it displays the list of students, how many attempts they've made, and the score that they've received for those. If you click on the link to an attempt, so here these particular students have only made one attempt. If you click on this number 1 here, it shows the breakdown of that particular attempt and the information that your SCORM package has passed back to Moodle for that particular package and that attempt. So you can see this student has received a lot of information about different things inside the SCORM package. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sort of objects inside the package that will all return some information, and some information on how long it took them those, and some of them returning a score. You can also click on this track details item here to find out even more information about that particular interaction with that particular object, and I think I've got another slide here with that information. So you can see that the information on this particular object, the maximum score was 100, the score they got was 0, the status is incomplete, and the time they took in that particular object was 1 minute 42 seconds. And there's some other information here that it's passing as well. So it's passing that there was a student response, which we can't see very easily there. There's no student response for that one, and some other information. That's what's been there since Moodle 1.9. In Moodle 2.2, I think we added some, in fact 2.2 from 3, we added some more reports. There's a nice graph report here that shows the number of participants that get a certain score for individual items in the SCORM package. This was not done based on a user request. This was done just as an example of what could be done with the new reporting stuff that we added to Moodle 2. So I'm not sure if this is useful for people, but it shows an example of what can be done. What is more useful is the interactions report, and this is something that was asked for quite a bit in Moodle 1.9. SCORM packages can contain quizzes that ask users information, and some of that information is passed back to Moodle. The question itself isn't passed back to Moodle. So in Moodle, all we hear is all we get from inside Moodle is the ID number of the question, the answer from the student, what the right answer should have been, and whether that was correct or not. So here, for example, we're seeing that there is response 0, which has the user has said mango, but the correct answer was kiwi fruit. For response 1, which is they start at 0. So this is the first response, and this is the second response here. The second response, response 1, the correct answer is true, but the user has placed in true, but the correct answer was false. So you can see that's incorrect. For this particular student, you can see that the correct answer was false, and that passed false. So you can see here they got 50 out of 100 because there was 2 questions, and they got 50, half the mark for each question. But whereas this user got 0 because the answers were incorrect. And there's a bit more information there on that interactions report as well. I think I've got another. No, I haven't. I've got a bit more. This is more useful, hopefully, than some of the other reports if you're doing some quizzes and you want to do some analysis on who got which questions right. The reporting engine in SCORM is extensible, but you can write your own reports. I'm talking with someone at the moment that's interested in a report that allows them to grade free-form questions. So they have a SCORM package that asks the student a question and they type in an answer, but the SCORM package can't automatically grade or mark that submission because it's just free-form text. So they're wanting a plugin that allows them to mark those free-form text items and then grade the student for those in Moodle. So you can add other reports if you want to, and let me know if there's particular things that you want to add. For supporting, or if you've got a problem with SCORM, the first thing to do is have a look at the SCORM FAQ that's in the forum that I've posted in the chat there. And if you can't find a solution there, then you can ask for support in the Moodle.org community forums. But before you do that, there's this nice sort of introduction here that I've just posted into the chat that explains the sort of things that you need to include in your forum post. Really, really important to say which Moodle version you're using, because the Moodle version you're using can cause a range of different responses. And it's very hard sometimes to understand what you're saying, so sometimes screenshots can be useful. So have a look at that if you're wanting to ask for help. You can also engage Moodle partners. So if you've got your own Moodle partner, then you can log requests with them, obviously. I work for a Moodle partner, Catalyst IT. The other thing that's really useful is debugging. And there's a sort of a SCORM Debugger, and that displays all of the communication that happens between your SCORM package and Moodle. So if you're wondering why an individual student or why a SCORM package is returning a grade of 20 when you expect that it's returning a grade of 40, you can go through that SCORM with the SCORM Debugger enabled and see all of the communication that happens between the SCORM package and Moodle. And that information can be hard to understand sometimes, but when you're asking for help in the forums, if you could use the debugger and give the information that's shown in that debug log, and then paste it into a post on the Moodle forums, then someone else that understands those can then help diagnose those issues. So I'll post a wee link to the debugging stuff in the chat here as well. And that's in the FAQ again. If you're using 1.9 or a previous, 1.9 is the only version that debugging changes slightly. Just in the URL, change the 2.5 there to 1.9. Hopefully, most of you here are now using Moodle 2, and you're all updating to 2.5 relatively soon, because that would be great. I think that's pretty much it in my presentation and the initial stuff. There's some contact information here, information on my blog as well. I blog about a lot of different stuff related to SCORM in my blog, so check that out if there's something you're looking for. There's a post on managing SCORM content, which I'll post here as well, that shows you all the different ways of managing content, which are covered in the presentation. And there's various other stuff in there as well, like details around stopping SCORM 2004 support. Is there any questions? Is there anything in particular you want clarified? Any particular issues that you're having with SCORM at the moment that you're not sure about? I have an older post here as well. The one I'm pasting in the chat now is a sort of a troubleshooting post. You know, if you're having trouble with SCORM, then where should you look? Anyone have any feedback? Hopefully some of that's been useful.
Hi, this is Ginny from the iMoot team. Natalie's just jumped in with a question. I'll let Dan answer that question, and then I'll say another thank you and wrap it up.
Yeah, display window size. There's two ways of displaying the window. You've got the current window, which displays the SCORM player in the current window, and there are a few things you can do to modify how that displays. One is if you don't need the table of contents on the left-hand side, you can disable that, so it removes it, and that gives you more screen real estate. It's designed, in the current window option, it's designed to use the biggest space available to the browser window. So if you have a theme on your site that uses a fixed width, that doesn't allow any flexibility in the width, so if you make your window wider, it doesn't do anything to the content inside, then it will not allow expanding, so that's an issue with the theme that you're using. The other option is to use a new window, and that opens the SCORM package in a new window, and you can set the dimension of that window. So when you are using the SCORM settings page, you have a look at the display settings and choose to open in a new window, and then directly underneath that there's the ability to write in the width and height of that new window. And if you write numbers lower than 100, then it interprets them as percentages. And if you write numbers higher than 100, it will interpret them as pixels. So if you want an 800 by 600 window, then you type in 800 by 600. If you want that screen to show 100% of the window, then you just type 100 in both boxes, and it will show the full screen. Does that answer the question, Natalie? Cool. Tim can. It's another standard. It seems easier and better to implement than SCORM 2004. It contains a range of standards that could potentially be semi-useful. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be useful for people in a particular sector, I imagine, that are people that are using lots of SCORM packages already. There are other standards out there as well, like LTI, which seems to me to be quite good as well. So I see it as being useful, but it'll be interesting to see what sort of penetration it gets as being a new specification. Seems to be getting a lot of interest, and lots of people are talking about it. It's kind of a bit of a buzzword at the moment. So it seems like people are wanting to use it. Yeah, I mean, I could talk for a bit about Can and stuff there, but it's depends what you're after. Does that answer some of the questions? Do you have more specific questions about it? The Moodle HQ team are looking at the logging API at the moment, and they're looking at some of the tin can spec around interpreting logging. No, I don't really see it as replacing SCORM. I see it as being another. SCORM 2004 has been around for 8 years. SCORM 1.2 has been around for 10 years or more or something. I can't remember when it was released, 1999 or something. When Bill Clinton was office, he dictated ADL to create the SCORM standard. There is so much SCORM content out there, especially in SCORM 1.2. I don't expect people will convert all of that stuff. I expect that stuff will be around for a long time, and so we'll continue needing to support 1.2. I see it as another standard that we need to support, and that we will support, and that some people will use. It'd be nice if it replaced SCORM and we didn't have to use SCORM in Moodle at all. I'd be quite happy if no one used SCORM in Moodle anymore and everyone converted to something like TinCan, because that would mean that we were able to support a new standard and not have to continue to maintain old code. But I don't see that happening. Yeah, we need to maintain support for older standards, and at some point we'll probably have to drop SCORM 1.2 support in Moodle, but I don't see that happening in the short term. Another 8 years down the track or something, if we're still using the same stuff, then we may no longer have a maintainer. I may lose interest and may choose to go and do something else, and if no one's going to pay for that support, then it may drop. No more questions? Anything else specific to SCORM, or doesn't look like it? Okay. Thanks everyone. I'm doing another presentation on this tomorrow, so if you've got questions that you think of, feel free to jump in at the end of that and ask them then. Otherwise, thanks for coming, and hopefully it's been useful.
Thank you, Dan. That was really interesting. And thank you everybody for participating.